ese hombre holding up the bottle. Look a little closer, cigar and Moscato. An actor in improv coming from Chicago. Auto, make way for Paul Vato.
Butch Bradley in the house. Let me add the weight bot.
Thank you, brother. That was hilarious. I was stuck in like, tech hell. I'm like, I'm watching things. uh, it's good to be here, buddy. It's good to be here.
I'm glad you found your way and we're not lost in the metaverse, because how could we find you? How could we get you back? So I'm glad you found your way in.
Thank you. I was like, this is ridiculous. I know everything about iPhones. What is happening? Where did Paul go? How do I get in? It was great. You know what happened? I started to edit my profile, to be quite honest, and then I was like, that's the end of that's the end of the green room. But yeah, good to be here, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, are you kidding me? It's amazing. Ever since I've seen you, perform in Las Vegas, I've been blown away, and just been following your career, and great success has come your way and is coming your way. So I thought it was a no brainer to have you come on and chat a little bit about your career, your successes, your failures, if you've had any, and your background and what it takes to be a headlining comedian in Las Vegas, because it can't be easy, and it's I think it's one of those things where it's the pinnacle of what comedians strive to do, is to have a show in Vegas, to be on the Strip, to be a headliner. So you've come a long way, and it's all very well deserved. So Butch, welcome, and if you'd like to introduce yourself to the people that are here, and also
hello, beautiful people. Yeah, I'm Butch Bradley. I always dreamt of being a stand-up comic, but I was, to be a first of all, hearing you and like introduce me, because I live in this strange place where I forget what I do. It sort of makes it easier to do what I do, and I have a tremendous respect. I'm like a comedy romantic. Like, I love comedy, and I hear a lot of guys like quickly in say they're a stand-up. I didn't say I was a stand-up for years. I had a real job, but I was doing the real job world. I was managing nightclubs in and out of Philly and New Jersey, and I was part of a big company. But I was working like 60, 70 hours a week. And, the universe has a funny way of speaking to you, because inside I always dreamt of being a stand up. And people would say, you're funny. You could do stand up. Maybe you should. And I just burnt out enough in the real world to realize that maybe I should try and do what I want to do quickly, and I can always get a job I don't like. So with that process, and stand up's so irrational. I mean, the true comics just refuse medication. You know what I mean? If there was a pill that I could take that would go, you should have a job that gives you comfort and security. Somewhere I chose the red pill, or whatever the proper matrix choice was. And it's been a little bit of a road, but and there's, you said, what are some of the low moments or the tough times? Comedy's day to day. Like last night, I was dialoguing with somebody, and older gentleman, and had an accent, and I said, "Your accent's beautiful. I'm not really sure what you said, but it made me very hungry." So in translation, he laughed, I laughed. Most of the room was really laughing, but one individual was like, "That sounds racist." So I'm like, really? I'm like, but it's interesting, because that moment of years of experience being on stage, that was something I really haven't seen since like early after the pandemic, where people want to police us and protect others. And, that moment was awkward, but, I dove into it. I handled it. And it's funny too, being like this pink white faced guy. I'm like, hey, I'm white. I understand maybe I'm your first choice of possibly being racist. I think we're at the top of the potential racist calendar right now. If there's a list, they're like, we're going to start with the white people. We're going to work our way through, and then we'll find out where the other racists are. But right now, I think this group most likely, is the group. If we're going to choose, but comedy's day to day. Bopping through, and at this point in time, I know who I am, so I win, and I go in and out of ups and downs of it, and I feel good. And these stages in Vegas, because LA Comedy Club started in like a little brawler's boxing room, and I think you'd been there a handful of times. And then this room is now a gorgeous $3 million room. So, Vegas is, and it's filled. We've got Kimmel's, which is on hold, but we have Brad Garrett's open. We've got the Cellar. We've got the Laugh Factory. You've got a lot of like like the like clubs you wouldn't see in Vegas. Like there's like actually like a local comedy club, like Wise Guys just opened, and then you got all these other little shows and little rooms going on. Plus, you got the main stages where you got like Sebastian and Bill Burr popping in, and Russell Peters, and it's really an amazing thing to be on stage. I'm like the only non-famous resident headliner. You know what I mean? So I'm at like the bottom of the next level fish tank. Like I'm like, hey, you guys got room for me up there? But it's a special place, and I get to get up on stage every night and kill. And luckily, the industry came here. So it used to be as a comedian, you start Boston, Chicago, San Francisco, or Florida, wherever you start, and then you make your way to like New York or LA. Well, as you and I know, it's squeezed in. Vegas is the comedy spot between here and Texas until California and New York really open up like they used to. And with that, during the pandemic, I got into Steve Burns' movie Opening Act. I got a special on Amazon Prime because, as crazy as it is, I had Sean McNamara in that little room, the director of Soul Surfer and the director of the movie Reagan, with Todd Fisher, Carrie Fisher's brother, in that little room just due to the world being upside down. They're sitting in there. And a buddy of mine said, hey, Butch Bradley's pretty funny. Let's go catch him. And they were filming Doyle Bronson's a documentary about Doyle Bronson, the famous poker player.
Sure.
So they had a couple hours to kill. And they just come into the room. And as an entertainer, you'll appreciate this. I'm backstage, and there's only like 22 people in the old room. And I was losing it. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be brutal. This is going to be tough. And I'm like pacing. And then I lecture myself. I go, just go have fun. You have to be your own like spiritual coach. But you're going to do amazing. Just believe, let go, fly. So I calm down. I go out, have a really great set for like 22 people. And two of them happen to be Todd Fisher and Sean McNamara, and an actor who you may know, Eric Audet. He's in the Mayans, and he's in a ton of things. And he just happens to think I'm funny, and he brought some guys in. So, these kind of moments happening here in Vegas. And then Sean McNamara calls me and had me run some lines for Reagan to improvisational work out some lines for a scene in Reagan's career. He ends up at the Frontier in Vegas for a year or so when his acting career fails, and he's with these guys called the Continentals. So, I have Sean McNamara on the phone asking me to create lines about that scenario, not thinking much of it other than this is an incredible, cool honor, and I'm riffing with the director. And then, like 6 weeks later, I get a call from Wardrobe, and they're like, Mr. Bradley, you're supposed to be in Oklahoma in 5 days, and we didn't hear anything. And next thing you know, I'm in the movie Reagan with Dennis Quaid, improving for like 2 hours. They threw all the lines out, and we riffed for 2 hours, and incredible, man. I mean, that's a lot. I feel like I just spewed a lot to the world. But that really, all that insanity I just ran has been the last like year and a half or 2 years of my life here in Vegas. And, it started out me tired touring the world, LA for 12, 13 years. And I was in Asia, in Singapore, and China. And just as my airplane was about to like go down, the, LA Comedy Club said, would you like to try our residency? We can't get anyone to get that 10 o'clock flying. And I was so tired from just touring and auditioning and touring and going to LA and scratching my lottery ticket. I was like, I'll do it. I thought I was going to have a couple months off with the front door. And then it just took off. It gave me sanity. And, I have dogs. I have dogs now. I go for runs. I go for runs. You know what I mean? I have a girlfriend. Hi, babe. Hey, what's going on? Have a good day. Like normal stuff. You know what I mean? I have pictures on the wall, not like a pile of things. Closets. I have more than one pair of shoes. Like you're just when you're touring, you're an animal. You know. So looking back, almost 3.5 years later since it started here, and then the last 2 years, the career just sort of, it's always had like these moments, but it really got a good skyrocket launch. Maybe because I had COVID twice, God felt sorry for me. God's like, if you survive, we're going to help your career, Butch. So
Is God Jewish?
what?
Is God Jewish? That sounded like an old Jewish man.
It might be. It might be. It might be. I love Israel, by the way. Inside, sometimes I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood, even though I'm Catholic. So it's funny you said that. Maybe in my past life I was a little Jewish man.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you know what? That sounds racist.
I've been called that before, Paul.
Which is funny because out of those. Thank you. And if they bother you, if the sound effects bother you, we can always turn them off.
No, I like fake laughter. I'm a whore for any noise that sounds like they like me.
Well, it's really people in the audience. That they can do reactions. So be careful because you can also get a poop symbol. So.
Yeah, I'm used to all of them. Hurt my soul, people.
We're comics. There's nothing you can do or say to us that's gonna.
Right.
But it's funny that when you mentioned that you were called racist by one person in a room. I'd say probably over 100 people. I'm guessing or more.
It's like a 280 seat room, and last night we were at like 220.
Wow.
Yeah, so they were killing and cheering when one white woman. It's so weird because I hate using these real basic elements to describe another human because I don't even see people like that. I'm a green room human. I have to be in the green room. I need gay, straight, tall, black, Asian. I need to hear language. I need to try new food. Being a racist just seems exhausting. I don't want to be at meetings to hate people. You know what I mean? I don't want to be like, Butch, got to meet us. We're going to be in the woods about 2 miles out. We're going to get together. We're going to collect dudes, and we're going to find out what horrifying outfits we should wear. I like everyone, man. I really,
it's too much work.
It's I can't imagine being stuck. And in dialogue now, you have to use these basic elements to sort of society's there, a white woman, a black person. That's like I don't even get it. My group is the comedians I'm friends with. I'm friends with all sorts of people in my circle, from a Tiffany Haddish to a Sebastian to a Avi Lieberman, like Tony Rock's one of my best friends, Ruben Paul, and now it's funny because it sounds like you're putting out your, hey, look, I'm white, but here's my friends. Here's my friends.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, my girl's Mexican. If that'll help get me in, and
all right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I've dated a Mexican girl because they're too much to handle. No offense, but no thanks.
Yeah, she's listening, right? I agree with you.
Well, yes. See. I just want to say thank you to everyone that is here. Thank you guys for the applause and the laughs and everything. We appreciate you guys really being here. And if you just joined us, we're talking to Butch Bradley, who is a Las Vegas headlining comedian, and he's an actor. You can see him in the upcoming film Reagan with with Dennis Quaid. Is it
there's
Dennis?
So many amazing people in it, man. I got to do a scene with Penelope Ann Miller because she plays Mrs. Reagan. John Voight's in the movie. There's so many people. Mina Savaro, is that right? Mina Savaro. I'm so weird with celebrities. Like
Mina Sorvino?
Yeah. I meet celebrities all the time. I don't know who they are. I'm really weird. But this situation was like, wait, everybody's famous. I'm like, what is happening here? Really cool experience. And I've done
Amazing.
like a little bit of other things, a lot of late night stuff, and but this was my first like major low level role, being around all the big players in a room with that Hollywood feeling, 150 extras dressed in the 50s, and just it was so cool, and like really like being completely awake during a dream that I had. Dennis Quaid's here, the other guys are here, the director's here. It was mind blowing. I'm looking across this theater at a young woman who's dressed as a 1950s dancer. She's in all white feathers, and Sean McNamara yells, "Butch, we're getting rid of the lines. I want you to improv." And my heart just started beating, and I thought, I can see this woman in the feathers out there, this surreal experience, and I thought, you know, stand up. I can do this because of stand up, because this is what I do. And I thought, if Dennis Quaid is cool, I can pull this off. And Dennis Quaid came over and he made a joke. He goes, "Can you believe they didn't give us 2 weeks to rehearse? What do you think?" And I'm like, "Man, I'm going to follow you wherever you go." And he just ran around the room flying like Peter Pan. And I just followed him. We improv, we went back and forth. And that experience is, what I've just always wanted to do with my life. That feeling of sort of being in the dream but awake. It's really cool. And stand up gives me that, yeah, every night, but it's a different thing. It's a different thing. I'm sort of painting the picture for everyone in the audience, whereas this one I get to be a character in the dream that we're in. That's going to be, it's cool. I just dig it.
I love it. And you have, but I mean, it's great that your stand up allowed you to do that. But you have an improv background, do you not? I mean, starting in
I
Boston.
do. Yeah, and I think, even as a child, I was always improvisation. As children, we're all naturally yes, 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 move forward, don't question ourselves. You have toys you play with, your soldiers or your dolls, or you interact with one another. And as we get older, I think like adults are like, don't do that, and no, 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 and that gets implanted. But I went to Boston. I was a founding member of a group called the ID, with a bunch of guys, and Brett Duggan and Al Del Benny, and our regular players were Dane Cook, Patrice O'Neill, Bill Burr. These guys would come into Harvard Square in Boston, and we would, beginning, middle, and end, improv a whole 1 hour sketch improv. And these guys would come in and play characters. Like they'd open the door and walk in like a sat. It was incredible, man. It was really cool. And we got a lot of heat back then. But that's where I come from. I come from improvisation.
That Wow, yeah, yeah. Please give it up for Butch, please, everyone, and everyone in the audience. Please do me a favor and just hit the share button and either share it to the world or share it to other Firesiders, because I think this is such an amazing episode to be a part of. So, Butch, it just shows you that power of improvisational comedy, and something that you said, the power of yes and something that you said about, as kids, as children, as babies, we're prone to play. We want to play. We want to say yes and we'll agree to anything. And it's as we become adults that all of a sudden we put these blinders and no and whatnot. And that's what our I studied with Del Close, who was gurus of improv comedy, and he taught the people there at the beginning of Saturday Night Live, the
Very
sex
cool. Very cool.
and he always said that we have to learn how to play like children, because it's we have to give ourselves that permission, because as adults we've been stifled. We don't give ourselves. I can only imagine what it would have been like being there with those characters like Patrice O'Neill and Bill Burr and Dane Cook.
It's cool. It was those guys. So I started at Nick's Comedy Stop in Boston. And by the way, that's incredible who you got to work with. It's incredible that if you start down that path of what you really want to do, that you end up doing exactly what you dreamed to do. You're working with people like that. It's when we stop. Like I always laugh with my nephews or kids. They climb trees. The kid is not going to fall out of the tree until you start yelling, "You're going to fall out of the tree. Do you know how high you are?" Like, right? Like the kid's like, "This is amazing. I can see grandmom's house. How did he break his arm?" "I told him he was up there too high." It's and that's when they stopped that natural like improv or like living experience. But I moved to Boston because I had my real job, and I thought everyone's going to think I'm nuts to be a stand-up. And Nick's Comedy Stop, my first open mic, Patrice and Bill Burr were sitting at a table. Dane Cook was in the corner. They're like 6 years ahead of me in this packed Nick's Comedy Club. My heart was just like crushing my face. I couldn't believe I was doing this. Billy Martin was the host, who eventually becomes the executive producer, head writer of the Bill Maher Show, to this day. The room is just nuts, and I walked up to Patrice and Bill, because they look like they knew what they were doing, and I go, "Hey, I'm about to go on stage, and I'm really nervous. Do you have any advice?" And Patrice O'Neill tilted his head and leaned back to give, I realized, to give energy a space. And he laughed into the sky, like filled the sky with this billowing giant laughter. And then he brought his head down and looked me in the face and went, "You're going to eat it." And Bill Burr and him started laughing. And I'm called to stage, and that's where it all sort of began, was from Boston, going up to New England, to that whole New England, New Hampshire, if you don't know, and Portland, Maine's above that, and this whole comedy scene. You're driving around in the snow for 2-3 hours to get 5 minutes, and then I eventually end up in Portland, Maine with Bob Marley, a comedian, who that was his world, and incredible comedian. He was in Boondock Saints, and I started driving round trips from Portland, Maine to New York City to comic strip to audition to pretend I lived there. So I would drink coffee, drive there, hang out and pretend like half asleep, pretend I'm there. Past auditions with Tony Rock, Sherrod Small. We became boys. And then I ended up out in LA at the Laugh Factory. Bob Marley sort of introduced me to Jamie Masada, and I got into the Hollywood Laugh Factory. And he threw me in, and I just started following killers every night. Everybody you can imagine. Just it was Hollywood was just unreal. Dane was exploding like 2002, 2003, 2004. I was just given comedy lessons, and then I broke into Vegas and Atlantic City and all these other gigs and touring the country. And my improv is why I was moving further ahead than I should have been, because my stand up was decent, but my improv was, really, it's always been my strength. So that's how it's all going down.
And Boston could not have been easy, because I've heard the stories from Bill Burr and from Patrice O'Neill, where performing in Boston, they don't cut you much slack if you're not bringing the heat. So
it was really, yeah, and their hosts are all headliners, which I was really confused when I left to go elsewhere, and the host was like I'm not going to say bad, he's just brand new. They use new guys, and I'm like baffled that the new guy is up there for 7 to 15 minutes eating it. And I'm like, what is happening? And I realized Boston used major headliners who a lot of people probably don't know. But that early American comedy scene that started in the late 70s and the 80s becomes like the guys in the 2000 and 1998, 99, 2000, 20 plus years ago that I came under. Were all major players. Lenny Clark, Sweeney, Kevin Knox. And I always wondered, why are they so good? Well, they've been doing it for like 25 years. They were the murderers that created Stephen Wrights and all these guys that went out over the country. It was there, Chicago. And then like Carlin, I think, was at the Ice House in LA. So those were like those original explosion points. Kinnison was discovered there was buzz on Kinnison. He flew out and did the Ding Ho, a little Chinese restaurant in Boston. And, that scene, I was doing open mics under these guys, and who knew, getting better because I was getting crushed, like a train just coming at me over and over and over again. And then one day I was like, ooh, the train missed me, and you just keep going,
Amazing,
So,
amazing. That's wow. What a great story, and then it's brought you here to Las Vegas. And for those of that just joined us, Butch Bradley is a headlining comedian, and you can see him at it's called LA Comedy Club, but it's here in Vegas. And as he mentioned earlier, it started, because I've been friends with Joaquin and his partner. Is it Matt? Is Matt his partner? But I've been
Matt
friends
and
with,
Joaquin are the partners, yeah, and they
yeah,
own
yeah.
LA Comedy Club inside the Strat Casino.
So I've known them because they used to be at the Four Queens. When I first moved to Vegas and opened up Vato Cigars and Binions, which is our sister property, they had the LA Comedy Club at the Four Queens in the uh,
In
oh,
LA Comedy Club in Fort Queens, right?
the Canyon Club. So
Yeah,
so that
that's cool.
that's when I first met them, maybe 12 years ago, and then I knew that then they went off to the stratosphere and had that small room upstairs for the longest time in the mall area, So it wasn't easy to find. So the success that they had was amazing. But now it's great to hear that they've built up this whole new ground level in the casino
Look,
showroom.
this Paul, have you not seen the new room?
I haven't been there. I haven't been
You
to the
are
new.
going to lose your mind because I did. Because as much as I love these guys, I will speak candidly. I know the old room, and I thought it's going to be a decent room. We'll see what we're getting into. They have the nicest room in Vegas. It's a $3 million stunning room. It's less than 4 months old. It's gorgeous, and it's stand-up comic like ready. There's things that we like and need, and the room's a kill box, as we would call it. It's like just a room that holds energy from above you and then forward, and you want to feel that energy go out and come back and hit you, and you sort of can monitor your speed and pace. And each room has a different acoustic response. And this room's great. I mean, they're all different. I love them all. Like the cellar at Rio is like a bang bang room, like it's just right here. It's a little different. Uh, the Brad Garrett's is in a gorgeous room I love, and that sound hits me different. The Laugh Factory's changed since Harry has it. He lowered his stage. I love that room as well. But this LA Comedy Club is very bluesy and jazzy. So if you're looking for like a comedy store type feel, this is the room because people will run off their line, their stand up line. They'll run off to the left and they'll just start. They can run a topic loosely in this room. It just allows it, and it's the most diverse room. It's very much like the Comedy Store. You're gonna have someone dressed to the nines. You're gonna have someone dressed in like a leather thong, and you're just gonna have everybody, and it's cool room, man. It's very cool, especially if you're in Vegas and you want that. You really want a real stand-up comedy club experience.
And I know that they run some outrageous special where what for like an extra $25 or something. It's all you can drink or something crazy.
It is crazy. I got to be honest. I hate the specials because $25 all you can drink. I'm literally looking at the clock like, okay, so I got like probably 9 minutes before this room rotates on me and thinks they're at a bachelor party. But it's Vegas. It's a blast because you have marijuana now. People are stoned. They're buzzed. These elements also make the room a little muddy and murky, which that jazzy feel, which really allows stand-ups to run into topics they're nervous about. And that's why this room's so cool because I'm in the process of preparing a new special. It's usually difficult because you have to go spot to spot with chunks of 5 minutes to develop, unless you're Chappelle or Chris Rock. This is how we do it. But in this room, I get to run long lines and listen for when the audience laughs. Those are hits. And when I run my line and I hear a hit, I'm like, ooh, that's nice. And then I can bring you back to material I know is going to work, or I dive in and run improv and do what I call building a village. Where I start to collect characters and real life issues. I run my own emotion and like stories through the audience to build like a story for the evening. Doesn't always work. I'm about 85%. So
It, uh, I saw you back to back. That night that we met, I had a friend in town, so we went. I was like, let's go see some comedy. And I saw you do two shows back to back, both the same but different. Maybe I said that backwards. They were different, the same through lines, but very different. And it was brilliant to watch your crowd work. And you can see where like, oh, I see. Okay, how you're putting it together. but it was two different shows and they were back to back. So I could see somebody coming to see you once a week and never getting this exactly the same show twice.
I'm really lucky. The locals in Vegas, come see me sometimes, multiple times in a week, or people will come see me 2 nights in a row. It's cool. I dig it. And then, if honestly, if I see too many people that have seen me, I'll rotate the whole show out. I'll like ditch. I'll just be like, I'm gonna do if I'm gonna use material, I'm gonna run this new material. I'm gonna run this piece, and then I'm totally safe because my emotion's gonna change as I speak to you about driving. It's going to be different than when I speak to, this person or that person or anxiety or whatever the issue is I want to discuss. But it's cool, man. I really and Vegas is unbelievable. You look, it's humbling. You've got Lady Gaga. You've got Aerosmith, the Rolling Stones, Billy Joel, Metallica. You've got, as I said, Bill Burr, Sebastian, Russell Peters. You've guys that have topped out that next level who are exploding through the scene. I mean, Vegas is, people discuss Broadway and people discuss these locations, and Vegas is really unbelievable. We've had every award ceremony that all the other states usually have this year. We have NFL draft. It's an incredible place. It's really insane. We're if you live here, you're lucky. Except July and August, then you get a wish. You're gonna dream of the color green, and you're gonna pray for rain like it's 1822.
It's incredibly hot here, folks. Yeah, it's incredibly
Yeah.
hot. And if people want to come see you at LA Comedy Club, what's the best way to get tickets for that?
I'll tell you what. If you want to come catch a show and you say that you saw me on Paul's show, you add me on Instagram, message me. I'll comp you in. I'll comp in seriously this whole audience. It's not a problem, and you guys are just going to have to make a decision when you get to the bar if you're doing the all you can drink or you're going to have it depends how you run. But yeah, just add me on Instagram. Say you saw me on Paul's show, and I'll comp you in. That way you can get a first look at the room. We'd love to get you to come out, check the room, you see my insanity live. And I'd love that. Just add me on Instagram, I'll comp you in. Add me on TikTok. I think I got 9 followers. And
TikTok's a whole
yeah,
animal.
yeah. I'm like, I gotta dance, I gotta move, I gotta do this. Yeah, I prefer just going to stage. I really just prefer the art of stand up and then having it grow. And I put some crowd work out there, and when that pops, it pops. But at this point, I love that road, and I don't have any like TikTok. I see some of these people I'm like, wow, you're talented. You can bounce the ping pong off of 7 walls in your home and make it go through the basket, dude. You deserve 3 million hits. You really do. But I don't know what you're doing to pay rent, or maybe that's how you do it. Who knows? But anyone add me on there and I'll hook you up with tickets. I'm at Stir Crazy in Arizona, the 26th and 27th. Great comedy club if you want to catch that. And you can always just Instagram me for any questions or follow ups from the show. And I appreciate everybody here. So
That's amazing. And then also, of course, you have a comedy special. It's
on Amazon, yes.
It's on Amazon. Okay, and what's the name of it? Is
It's
it
called Live from Las Vegas. It's so funny that title was supposed to be Live from Vegas with Butch Bradley, and then there were some copyright issues, but it's Live from Vegas with Butch Bradley. Yeah. If I just put Butch Bradley, talk to your remote, and it'll show you where I am. And I'm on a bunch of other platforms, but Amazon is really the main one. But you can find me out there. And I'm getting ready to I did 4 hours. They recorded 4 hours of my improv, and that's sort of the piece together one. And this next one I'm really excited about because after really doing one, you realize where you want to make the adjustments. And now I can look and see these other comedians how they've sort of climbed. Each special's a little different. So I love that special. But I'm excited because I learned an incredible amount from doing that one. So the next one's going to be hopefully even better. So yeah, catch it.
wonderful? That's amazing. So yeah, please, anyone that's in the audience, by all means, please look up Butch's comedy special on Amazon, and you can find it there. And so this is May 25th, you said, through the 27th that you're going to be
May
in.
26th, 27, I'll be at Stir Crazy in Arizona. I think it's like Scottsdale. I forget where it is, but it's like right in the heart of Arizona. Arizona's got great comedy clubs as well. So, and Stir Crazy is a really cool, like they're like the improvs. They're really tight. The caliber of the comics are really good. It's some clubs book really strictly. This is one of those ones where you like to have on your resume, like Zany Chicago. The improvs are important. But this Star Crazy is really exciting. It's a great venue, and I've done the improv in Arizona a bunch. I love that room, but this Star Crazy room is more of a like 220 seat room. It's or 180, and it's just tight. You get that feeling of comedy. It's cool.
Wonderful. And you just mentioned Chicago, which is, I don't know if you know this, that's I'm from the Chicagoland area. So I actually took one stand-up class there with a guy named Dobie Maxwell. This was back in the
He's like a
90s.
famous Chicago guy. Yeah, Dobie's I've never met him, but he's like a famous Chicago guy.
Yeah. Okay. So you've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah.
But at one point I had a friend that managed it. So I saw, people like Richard Lewis there. Like anytime that there was, I wouldn't even buy a ticket. I would just walk up to the door and he'd be like, come on in. And I just watched some of the most talented, because I was studying at Second City at North
Yeah.
and Zanies is right there, right up the block. Also, I believe by the Up Down Tobacco Shop. I was always kind of in the cigar business.
That was right next door to Zany's. I was just there. I landed Sunday, man. This is great. I didn't know you went to Second City. Yo, if you don't know people, that is huge. The Second City and then the Groundlings, like those are the premier spots for improv and sketch and writing, and literally I'd say the top I would say probably the top 60% plus of people that are out there that writers and sketch all come from those venues. If they can get in, if they can make it, it's so many ifs. It's incredible, man. Hats off to you, bro. I love that. I took my
Thank
girl and I was like, that's Second City. That's
and
Second City.
I feel that, because I went into Chicago to study to become a stand-up because I wanted to do stand-up, but then I got derailed by first showing up at the Improv Olympic and going like, "Hey, I want to learn how to do stand-up." And Sharna was like, "Well, we don't teach stand-up here; we teach improv." And I'd already paid for it, so I'm like, "All right, teach me what you do." But I fell in love with it, and to this day, I still want to do stand-up. I've done stand-up a handful of times. You mentioned Steve Byrne; he was gracious enough to give me really my first opportunity, 5 minutes,
Oh, cool. Yeah.
opening for him on New Year's Eve here in Vegas 3-4 years ago, and it
Oh,
was.
cool.
I mean, we're friends, but still, he didn't have to let me go up there and try to ruin his show.
Right,
But
right. He's a great. Steve and I have been friends for years because I toured with it was like Steve Byrne, me, Brett Ernst, Sebastian Maniscalco, John Caparulo, Mike Young. We would all tour together for years. Me and Steve did the Super Bowl commercial with Prince. With Sebastian, was me, Steve, and Sebastian. Like those are my boys. Like we had a blast. Steve's a great guy. He must really like you, but he is kind like that. And the Chicago comedy scene is top tier. Like TJ Miller came out of your school.
yeah,
He'd come down and see me. He's a good friend. He'd come. He just actually came to LA Comedy Club and did spots about 2 weeks ago to hang out with me. And but that whole world, it's a small world if you don't know people. It's big but small and really cool, Paul. Yeah, man. You just got to get up. Stand up. And Improv Olympic is amazing too. That was huge in Los Angeles and Texas and all of those places. I had good friends in all because I'm an
sure.
improv freak, and what is it? God, what was the other? Upright Citizens Brigade.
Yeah.
Yeah, Improv Olympic, Second City, Groundlings. Wow, yeah, all of those worlds. I come out of the Boston id world, so I was sort of like I was already on the stand-up trajectory, and I didn't have enough time to go. I wanted to do those tiers. I just really was already. I was at the factory and the improv in the store, just like trying to get my $25 paycheck.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you would have to take a pay cut and spend money to go study improv when you're already on stage,
Right.
doing. But and maybe one day soon, if you have more time and you want to come back, I would love to talk to you more technical stuff like what you can expect on the road, what pay is like, what it is using. Did improv help your stand up, and how could stand up help your improv? things like that, because these are all things really for selfish reasons. Because I really want to use my improv to craft a stand-up show, and I know exactly what you said when I listened, which is I just have to get up there and do it. Bobby Lee would give me that advice. He'd say, like, just do it. He goes, you haven't lived until you've bombed on stage. I never saw him bomb, but he said, he's bombed plenty, when he was first coming up. So I get it. I just have to go up there and do it. If I want.
Bobby Lee's failsafe is as soon as he's starting to do poorly, he takes his clothes off and he dry humps the stool. So he has always got this. If I did that, I'd be arrested. Bobby looks cute and adorable somehow. He's like yelling and he's yelling. I'm like, he can get away with this. If I take my clothes off and go to the stool, the room's gonna empty.
We were in Vegas. This was when we lived in LA. We were doing Mad TV, and so we took a trip out to Vegas, and it was like Bobby Lee, Ike Barinholtz, Mo Collins. She was there.
Cool. Yeah.
Seth, Josh Myers, Seth Meyers' brother, and so Ari Spears, I think, was there. Jay Johnston from Mr. Show, and
Wow.
we were all in bed together, not in a sexual way. But I remember it was Josh Myers, me, Mo Collins, and there must have been another girl. And it wasn't, we were clothed, we were in bed. All of a sudden, we look up, and there's Bobby Lee at the foot of the bed, naked, pulling on his penis one way, and like that's right, he was pointing at his head. And I don't know how, it's like that thing where you rub your belly and do this. He was able to do it perfectly. He was kind of pointing it sideways, pointing at his head, going, "I'm not well in the head."
I love Bobby. I was in we were at like the Comedy Store and he was playing piano late night and I'd heard a lot of ghost stories about the Comedy Store.
Sure.
And I saw like out of the corner of my eye a woman walk by and I go, yo, that woman, there's a woman still here and she's in the back over there. And he's like playing piano. He goes, you saw a ghost? And I go, I believe in ghosts, but no, this is like a woman. And he goes, really? He goes, because that room, that goes out the front. It's locked off. There's no one there. I go, really? And I jog across the store's main room. I go, I'm going to show you. And I went into that dark space with the front door, the glass facing out of the Comedy Store. And then I realized I'm in that cornered area. My body was like lit. I go, there's nobody here. And I ran back and Bobby just starts singing to me, Butch saw a ghost today. He's like ripping, but Bobby's great. Man, see, that's why Hollywood and the Comedy Store, the stand-up scene's all killer. And real quickly back to you, when you want to do stand-up, you just get like 4 or 5 stories that you want to dialogue about. And you get up and dialogue until they tell you to come off. And as the audience starts to laugh or you hear your hits, you memorize those or record those. You chop the fat where they're not laughing. And then those stories become more comfortable to you, like dialogue or like script. And gradually you'll have one that's a little bit better than the others. You'll open strong, close strong. 5 minutes, but 4.5. And if you're 2 minutes in and you're losing it, you just say, hey, back to your host. You always can get out of this by just smiling and good night, thank you. And they go, you came off early. Well, who cares? It's your beginning adventure and you're growing that adventure. And karaoke is a killer way to get comfortable, unless you're one of those people who love doing it. But those are like elements that you can do until it starts to piece together. But your improv will naturally cover you because when your fear takes off and you're snagged, your natural improv will be like, bam, 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 bam. And you'll be like, what did I say? It'll just come to the surface. All of your years of training will come to the surface. And then, stand up will be easier for you. It's just going through the beginning process, But yeah, we've got 5 minutes for you, Paul. But you're like up there for 30 minutes. What's happening? Where's Butch? And I'm
put me in, boss. I'm going to work on it because I would love to work with you one day and maybe share the stage.
Of course we will. Dude, for real. I love getting people up, especially I love stand-up. If stand-up is something or, comedy or whatever they want, but stand-up, I can easily dialogue someone through the basics and get you up and be more comfortable. It's just telling a couple of stories in the beginning,
I love it. Trust me,
Yeah.
I've got some stories. But again, everyone thinks that they do. Then you put them in front of people. You put them in front of people that are drinking. You put them in front of people that are drinking that are paying. Then it elevates the game. So it's
Well, you're still an actor, so you add the color. It's like reading a children's book. You wouldn't read a children's book like the dog, walked down the street. You'd be like, this dog, the red dog, went down the street. So you add your acting ability in your new material. Like my grandmother drove me nuts. You know what I mean? You start to add to cover the ground where you're new, and you don't just tell the story. My grandmother drove me nuts. She was always, you memorize that script like you would as an actor, and
sure.
you go put all that in there, and you add the color, the blues and the yellows and the reds and the tones and then you get on stage. You're in a show. I always tell everyone you're a stand up. But you're doing a show. You know what I mean? If you had a bad day, too bad. You're doing a show. Now in stand up, you can cheat your bad day in, but the goal is to bring them to a different place. But for you, you have all the skills. You write out your stories, but you really add those stories to them. At worst, you're a great storyteller for a short period of time, and you start to figure out where they laugh. It's fear telling us it probably isn't a good story. If you tell it in front of your friends and you get a couple of hits, guess what? Those are good. Those are little diamonds. When I'm in a circle with comedians and I say something that gets a hit, comedians all look at each other like, "Are you going to use that?" I'm like, it's my personal story. That's my grandmother. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
but I can make it work. No, it's my story.
It's my story. Well, it's
Yeah.
funny because you've been called a comedian's comedian, and you hear that often. You don't hear it often. You hear it sometimes. What exactly? And I mean, I know what it means, but I feel like in case there's someone in the audience that doesn't. But can you talk a little bit about that? About being a? I mean, I think it's one of the highest compliments that you can get.
It's really like humbling. It's really cool. Like a lot of guys come to watch me run my improv material, and I guess maybe because in some comedians' minds, I take risk because I go out to open topic, discuss, and run and write my jokes on the fly. So I'm writing hits on the fly, but that happens to just be something that's natural to me. It runs well with me to listen to the crowd, and I can hear the crowd is hitting on this. So I'll write and speed right in that direction. Oh, they want to go up the hill. All right, so we're going to go up the hill. Oh, they want to go back onto the subway. Let's go back onto the subway. Oh, they like a lot of people. They want to hear about characters. Oh, the guy had an overcoat. I write that way. A lot of comments, excuse me. Um, Allergies, the
Mm.
desert. Everybody promised me my allergies would be fine here. I literally all night long I'm like, water. I need water. But yeah, I think they come watch me because they can't believe I cut the net. I cut the net on a regular basis. Usually a comedian would go to an open mic. I knew to hold my residency, I had to do a new show every night. I believe that I had the possible potential of doing that more times. And, I've gotten really good at letting it fly. Late night hosts do a new show every night. They have writers. I just listen to the voices and I go out and dialogue, whether it's Ukraine or this or England or pandemic or COVID or, marches or politics or my own personal life. And I run them and the comics come to watch. It's hard for me to really, it's so awesome, but it's nerve wracking because I have so much respect for the industry, and I see guys come out to watch me. It's a crazy thing to catch them because I really want to do well, but they enjoy me cutting the net. I get rid of the safety net, and that's where I happen to work really well. So, it just pressure and I do well under high pressure and stress. I pay for it though during the day, but as long as I get on stage, I'm good for another 24 hours.
It's an
I
addiction.
like me. I like me after stage. Before I'm like, yeah, who are you? What have you done? Then I get on stage and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, I'm all right.
That's
That's
so wow. That's so funny. that you go through that. I'm guessing every day, and you've had some very well known comedians say some very complimentary things about you. I'm thinking about Brad Garrett, obviously with his club in Vegas, and Tiffany Haddish, who has found some great success. And I'd forgotten that I think used to do a show with her called the Southpaw Sam McCluskey Show with my friend Sam Krupin. This was in L.A. and Sam was like, Tiffany used to come by all the time. I was like, oh my God, that's right. So I don't think she'd remember me because we didn't hang out that often, but yeah, we did.
She's so down to earth. She probably, I bet she does. She's so down to earth. Like Tiffany literally will text me normal, and the environment will sound really crazy, like you're in the Oscars, but she's normal. But you can hear like an assistant and everybody just like just, and she's probably wearing some like $19,000 Versace dress, but she's like, "Hey, Butch, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, she's so normal. I guarantee she would remember you. She's really chill, she's really down to earth person." And Brad Garrett loves my improv. I met him in Hollywood. He walked up onto one of my sets, packed Laugh Factory, and stood next to me, staring at me. That's how I met him. He improv. I improv. We improv together for like 20 minutes, and it was, of course, magical and exciting for me, and we crushed. He's so brilliant, and we had a blast. And then he had me open up his club when he was at the Tropicana.
Mhm.
He had me do a million shows there with him, and then he brought me over to MGM, and he had me open both of his new rooms at MGM. And he calls me for a lot of big private events that Ari and MGM put up for celebrities and stuff. And I get to go in and do my insanity. So he's cool, man. He's an improv fan. Like he's really, and he's an unbelievable actor and a beast on stage. So he hits really fast and hard, and those things make you better when you're in those environments. You're forced to sort of just get better. So he's one of those people I'm thankful for. Here, I'll show you something. He
Yes.
actually gave me this to congratulate me. It's from the Museum of New York. It's a one-off of Steve Martin running in New York City. If you guys can you see it?
Yes.
That's from Brad Garrett. It was a gift. And here's Brad and I right here.
Oh, that's fantastic. Is that at his club?
Yeah, that was it. That was opening night. That was his opening night. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing.
But he gave me this as a gift, him and his wife. And so that was pretty cool. Here, I'll show
What?
you guys. Yeah, he's pretty. Yeah, it's crazy when these people become like, your work environment. This is me and Dennis Quaid on the set.
Oh,
You see
there.
it?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah, here's
That.
the girls that played the dancers.
Yeah, yeah.
It was fun, man. Here's a really old school picture of me, Norm Macdonald, Ken Jeong, and Tony Rock at the Laugh Factory.
Wow, Dr. Ken. I know Dr. Ken as well.
Yeah.
I was there on his first TV appearance on Cedric the Entertainer Presents. I'd been on all week, and they replaced an actor, and he was the replacement. And so he and I had some words. Look at that. Whoa,
That's Sean McNamara, the
okay?
director of Soul Surfer. There's Brad again.
He's a tall
He's
fella.
fun. Yeah, there's Greg Wilson. There's Marsha Warfield.
Oh, I saw her at L.A. Comedy Club.
Yeah, this is one of those fun. This is Debbie Gibson.
Sure.
She comes to the cellar all the time. Vegas is crazy, right? But yeah, man, bizarre, fun thing, stand up. Everyone comes out to hang out and hide in the back of the room to see us. You know what I mean? It's cool.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And you know what? And thank you also. And I don't know how much time you have. I don't want to take up all your time, but it's been such a great interview, I think. And but also thank you for entertaining the troops. I know that you've also done that, and you've traveled
Been
the world.
lucky. Yeah, I did. I was in Hollywood, and we did Bob Hope's 100th birthday at the Laugh Factory. It was like 2004 or something. 2000. It was before all the world turned upside down.
Sure.
And I had just gotten back from doing a one-time gig in Korea, so I got a little bit of military knowledge. into my improv brain. I do Bob Hope's. It's the Marines, the Air Force. Everyone's dressed to the nines. It's every branch, and I improv and I coined the audience. And if you have a coin and you coin a military guy, they have to buy you a drink. So I opened up with coining, and all the other comics were like, "What is he doing?" The place goes nuts. They start putting beers and shots on the Laugh Factory stage, and everyone is like, "What did he do?" And I didn't know if it was going to work, but that's improv. I was like, "Coin up, bitches, coin up," and like it's supposed to be this squeaky clean Disney show, and I open up like banging my military coin against the mic, shots and beers everywhere. I go into the branches, I have some fun, and after uh, a general came to me, and there was commanders all over, and I said, I want to do more. I want to do more. They sent me to Bosnia and Kosovo, and then I did Afghanistan 6 times, Iraq twice, and I just went out and I'd go for about 3 weeks, and you'd land in like a safer spot, like Bagram, safer spot. There's no safe spot, and then we'd fly out in Black Hawk or convoy to forward operating bases and locations. But I got to tell you, there's whatever's wrong with me is perfectly wrong with me in the way where I loved it. It was scary and terrifying, and I don't want war, but I loved being able to bring something and help people, help bring some relief. And I watched all those shows with my grandfather used to talk to
Sure.
me about when he was in the war and the entertainers, and it was in my blood. I'm from Atlantic City, so I just really wanted to go do it, and I got to do it at a crazy cuckoo high level. I just recently did a show on the USS Iowa for the commander of the U.S. Special Forces and a private group, and I just love that stuff, and it's crazy that part of my comedian dreams, American comedian dreams, required war, a real weird moral thing that I sort of got to understand about myself
Sure.
as an American. You got to be careful. So with those lines, I love what I do, and but I know now from doing my first USO tour where I had like a picture of me with my hands on, like and then educated through the war experience. I'm like, am I out of my mind? It's real. The news and the media sort of twist our brain. But I love doing all those shows. But I would much prefer to have us not have to do, be at peace. Come to the club. But yeah,
Sure.
man, I love all that stuff. I got to show you this picture. This
Yeah,
is
please.
Bert Kreischer and us
Sure.
at. So Mike Young's friends with Leonardo DiCaprio, and he said he wants to take a picture of our tour. So we go to his house. He has a private photographer. He goes, "Use my photographer." He loves Mike Young, so this is a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Bert.
I had to show that. I had to
Thank
show
you.
that.
Thank you. You,
Bert Kreischer's ass. I had to show you Bert Kreischer's ass.
Bert Chrysler. That's right. No, I'm just kidding.
Kreischer, yeah, Kreischer, yeah. Good
I've got
dude.
a photo. I've got a photo with him in one of my 18-inch cigars
Oh,
at
cool.
the Las Vegas Comedy Festival, maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
He was here at the Mad Hotel right around like 3 years ago, right? Was that when
Yes.
it was?
At El Cortez, they had,
Oh, I love that spot.
and at my friend's place, backstage bar and billiards, and 601 Fremont Street. It's at 601 Fremont Street, and so that was part of the comedy festival. And it was like 4 years ago.
Byrne always brings me to those. He's friends with them. Is he friends with them through you? Yeah,
Uh,
the billiards place. I've
yeah,
gone there and done shows.
yeah. Big Daddy Carlos and Ava, they're the reason that I ended up in Vegas, because I met him in Hollywood. He owned Velvet Margarita Cantina in Hollywood,
Uh,
and I would give him cigars to give to his dad. And then so he was like, "Hey, we're moving to Vegas. We're going to take over Vegas. I want you to come out and be a cigar guy." And I'm like, "You got it." I didn't think it was going to happen. And then all of a sudden, a year later, he's like, "You ready? We're going to Vegas." Because he had partnered up with the guys that the Terry Cottle, the owner of Binions and whatnot.
yeah.
And so they actually had a drink named the Velvet Vato at Velvet Margarita Cantina. So then he and Ava started 601 Fremont and Backstage Bar and Billiards. So yeah, Big Daddy Carlos and Ava are the reason that I'm in Vegas.
Oh, very cool. Very
And
cool.
and Bert was performing there. Steve Byrne is really good friends with him. Ahmed, Vince Vaughn.
Oh my god,
That
I know
whole
all those guys. That's like my Hollywood days, dude. Ahmed had a show at Dublin's, this little Irish bar in Hollywood, where
Sure.
all the celebrities would show up, and we would go. By the way, if anyone sees me making motion down here, I'm petting my dog.
Quit masturbating. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, I should let them know what I'm over here doing. I'm petting my
Yeah,
dog.
me too. Except I don't have a dog.
right. Well, that's how it all starts. And next thing you know, you have a dog. Then you have two. I actually have two of these wonderful. That was Baru. So yeah, he wants to be in the podcast. So,
Well,
but
yeah, we'll have him on. So you're here in Vegas, though, correct? I mean, you live here in Vegas, or
I live here Thursday to Mondays, 10 o'clock. Come catch a show at the LA Comedy Club. I tour out of here. If you have any questions or, if you're in the biz and you have some questions, feel free to ask me. Add me on Instagram, best way to find me. And if you guys want to be comped into a show, I'd love to have you. So just mention Paul's name. And yeah, and then send me your social security number, your last, your address and everything, your PIN, and a copy of your debit card, all of that information. Right? You're like, wait, what? What?
what?
What?
All
Yeah,
right.
just mess. Yeah, just
But I
mess.
get in for free, right? All right, that's all
Yeah,
that
no,
matters.
yeah, right. You do get it for free. But yeah, I'll say hi, David, Dave, Victoria, Kaylee. I can't see that one. Oh, there's a guy named Butch on here. There's an interesting name. Paul. All right, just say hello to everybody. Yeah, man, awesome. I love this. This is cool.
Well, I want to thank everyone that spent part of their day with us, and especially you, Butch. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule. I know that comedians maybe don't like to get up that early, but it
I
sounds
get up. I
like
do.
you.
I get up early. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do now. I changed. I switched. I
Did you ever?
got those dogs to make me do opposite of me. I get up early, go for the run, and I go, oh my God, I have to have coffee. Without coffee, I would, yeah.
What about drinking? Drinking on the road? Were you ever a drinker, or?
Like, so I don't drink anymore. I don't drink. I haven't drank in a couple of years, but I used to and enjoy it and love it. And then, it becomes almost becomes like eating pizza. You're like, I'm gonna have pizza all the time, pizza. And then I have a couple of drinks, and then I went through no drinking, and then drinks, and then your body's tired, and then not until I lived here did I realize the road can exhaust you as well. You're flying, you're changing flights. I was changing time zones. I was in Singapore, India, Malaysia, China, and then I'm back to the States, and then I'm here, and it just takes a toll on your body. And then my drinking just I couldn't do it. My body was exhausted. I felt sick, and you know, genetically, I felt like the brakes weren't working. You know what I mean? I'm like, you go from drinking Friday or Saturday or Sunday, I stopped and did a thing called opposite of Butch Bradley or opposite of myself, and I sort of made a list. And I'm like, I'm going to get dogs. I'm going to get up early. I'm going to go back to the gym. I go run. I don't go do these things because, like, I do it for the head, to clear, to feel good, remove stress, and to make sure I do well at what I love to do. And it's funny, Tony Bennett had a cool quote. He said, he doesn't sin on his art. And it always messed with me because I'd have one or two drinks or just one or just two, and then but then I thought I could hear that quote. Of course, I'm not Tony Bennett, but I don't want to like cheat the audience from me. And everyone's got to know their own world. Chemically, I don't drink. I just couldn't. It made me tired, man. It's like eating chocolate cake. I love chocolate cake. It's there. But if I start killing it every day, people are going to take notice. It's not going to do well for me. But
Yeah.
yeah, it hurts. It just hurts. So I quit, and it helped. It really changes. If you have an audition or you have to improv with Dennis Quaid for 2 hours, you better hope you're sober and you just ran 3 miles. You know what I mean? I'd rather fail clear-headed. So, but I love booze. Like people who drink, I go get it, smoke a cigar, have wine, enjoy yourselves. But watch your breaks because my breaks, I was like, shit. I think the breaks are gone, and I I hated hangovers. And in our business, it's easy to go. Well, Paul and I have a show at 8. we'll grab dinner at 6. I'll eat, have a couple cocktails. I'm going to work. Now it's 6 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock. Oh, we had lunch. I just removed it. But I'm terrible because people are like, but you don't drink. And I'm like, well, if you're doing all right with it, go enjoy yourself. But if you wake up like, I feel horrible, well, get 2 Dobermans and get up at 9 a.m. every day.
That will do it. That will do it. But I love that saying. Don't sin. I don't sin on my art. That.
Yeah. Yeah, and I still do sometimes, but not with booze. But Tony Bennett just stuck with me. You hear these guys in their 70s and their 80s killing it, and it's like, we're lucky. I complain, but when I drive to work, which is crazy, and I look at the Vegas Boulevard, I'm very humbled and respectful, knowing where I'm going and what I'm doing. I'm very good at what I do, but I go to do better every evening because I know Paul's right there, and Paul's right there, and Tina's right there, and John's right there, and everybody's going, and it's sitting on my ass and not going up there like this is my tonight's the night. I got to go there and do that. So that's how you maintain or you pop up or you survive. There's a million new guys. So I really love driving down and seeing it, and it's good stuff, man. But if I hit the lottery, I'm gonna probably move to Tel Aviv and be that little Jewish rabbi I've always wanted to be.
The Irish rabbi.
Right. I don't know.
Well, buddy,
Yeah,
thank you so much for spending time with us.
I had a blast.
Yeah, and I would love for you to come back if you find it.
Anytime, Paul. Anytime at all. Yeah, I would love to. Appreciate you thinking of me and bringing me on. And when you're ready, when you want to do your 5, that's what we should do. Put it together. We have your audience show up. You do your 5, and then we come back and we talk about what was fun for you, what wasn't, and we do like a breakdown of Paul's 5. That'll be a whole episode. Look, your heart's beating already, isn't it?
Is it warm in here? What's going on?
All right, we're doing it tonight, everybody. Paul, we'll see you tonight. Everybody here, are you with me?
Thanks, Coach. I'm ready.
Right.
Yes, and
no, but when you want to, that'd be fun to do. We can secretly go do your set and then come back and dialogue about it.
But you know what? I mean, I think without you even having to leave your house or me having to leave mine, I mean, we could maybe even do something like that here and dissect it, like, from total neophyte to a crafted 5 minutes, if you were to have time, because, I know that your time is valuable.
I'll do all the details. I would love to do it. It's fun for me to talk about it. I just don't know. If you have an audience that really wants to learn about all that or hear about all that, of course. I'll go to the chalkboard. All right, here's a laugh. Here's a hit. Here's a hack bit. A hack bit's when someone else has already done it 10 times. It's not your bit. Right about you, people. That's hack. Yeah. Closing, opening, what you do in each room's different. Clubs, a headliner. Once you're a paid regular headliner, why you're allowed to drop an F-bomb or no F-bombs, or an 8 o'clock show to a 7 o'clock show, or a 30-minute casino set. If you do 31 minutes in a casino set, you might not be paid because you're taken away from the gambling in the casino. What Los Angeles and New York are, they're showcase cities. You audition for each club. If you're lucky enough to get in, then you become in these circles of people and growing and learning. Whether you're a store regular, an improv regular, I'll do it all, man. It'll be fun. Yeah.
Well,
it'll be cool.
If you want to set it up for next Tuesday or whenever, you tell me when you have time.
All right, I'll hit you up when we're off here. We'll pick a day that works.
I think the people here would love it. I know I would love it, and it would still live on so people could actually listen to it and learn, because there are a lot of questions. And I know, it's not about the money, but you have to make a living. So I think these are valid questions. Like, can you make a living touring? Is it different now than it was before? How have things changed?
Everything has completely changed. That'll be a big thing. And a day job is always going to keep you funny until you can afford not to have it. It's better that you're tired with money in your bank than to be, sleep till 3 o'clock stressing because you only have $90 and you don't have rent and you're trying to find a gig to pay rent. Yeah. You always have to have finances so you can chase your dream without, because you're gonna have moments where you're starving without having to help, without setting that up for a fail. Having a cush day job you can walk away from, a valet job. I bartended. Service industry rocks. Waiter, waitress, bartender, forever the greatest comedian go-to job. It'll always be there. It carried my whole career. I would make so much money bartending. I was in Boston making so much money. It was really tough because then once I got to host a weekend, I went from 300 a night to a guest spot or $25. And then the stress starts. But we'll get into all that. I'd love to do that. And people could send me questions. I'll dialogue on the show or whatever. It'll be fun, man.
Well, folks, I think if you guys don't mind, if you guys do have questions about getting into the world of stand-up comedy, please, it's DM me, and then Butch and I will look them over, and then we'll answer for you in our weekly or monthly show. We'll see how this works.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great one. Thank you, Paul, so much for having me, brother.
Applause. Yeah. Butch, thank you so much, everyone. Let's give Butch a quick applause. And thank you guys so much for being here. And folks, I guess that is our show for today. Let me invite the waitbot up. If I can find them. Oh, I got to get used to all this. Where's the waitbot? So, folks, thank you guys so much. And we will see you. I have a couple more shows scheduled. Please look on the schedule. Victoria Medina is my guest. I have Richard Villa, a stand-up comedian as well. Do you know Richard?
Yeah.
I have him next Monday. So Richard Villa, cool. And I have Alex Cooper, who's been on, I think it's America's Got Talent, professional roaster. So I've got some very interesting guests coming up. So Butch, thank you so much for being a part of this series. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Ese hombre holding up the bottle. Look a little closer, cigar and Moscato. An actor in improv coming from Chicago. Outdoor, make way for Paul Vato.